David from Essex, UK, buy or sell AJ Styles' career in WWE or AJ Styles' career in TNA? Well, I mean, he spent about the same amount of time in each, like maybe a year or so more in TNA. TNA is what set the groundwork for what he was able to do in New Japan and then in WWE. Like it laid the foundation. In ring, his best body of work was in TNA. There was also a lot of bad stuff that he was involved in, right? Like them making him cosplay as the new Ric Flair, the Claire Lynch stuff. Like it was awful. And I wish he would have come over to WWE sooner. Like Bret Hart said the same thing. What was it? 2012, 2013. It was towards the end of his TNA run. And Bret said that AJ was the best wrestler in the world and he needed to leave the Bush League. He needed to leave Bush League TNA and go to the big time because he didn't want him to waste his life in TNA. I'll never forget it. He thought AJ was wasting his life in TNA. And it got bleak there for him those last few years, but I still think his greatest body of work is in TNA. So I'm going to buy on his TNA career, and I'm going to sell on his WWE career. The best part of his WWE career by far, I mean, to me, it's not even close, is the program with John Cena. That 3-match series that they had is still the gold standard for him in WWE. But like in TNA, I mean, the matches with Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle, Christopher Daniels, Abyss, I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch. Like that's what defined his career. Connor from Wyncote, Pennsylvania. With the WWE and ESPN partnership, it got me thinking. For years, ESPN barely acknowledged WWE or pro wrestling. I always assumed that if ESPN ever got involved, it would be used to help legitimize wrestling to the broader public, presenting it closer to real combat, a real combat sport like boxing, kickboxing, or UFC, instead of the usual "it's fake" argument that non-fans love to fall back on, especially now with UFC and TKO under the same umbrella. That's where I get conflicted with today's WWE product. It doesn't feel very competitive or physical most of the time. We rarely see high-intensity matches or true wars anymore. And on top of that, most of WWE's top stars barely wrestle on weekly TV. Cody, Roman, Gunther. They're presented more as attractions than active competitors. If the goal of a partnership with ESPN is to legitimize wrestling to new audiences from a combat and athletic perspective, do you think WWE is actually the right company for that role? And if it were up to you, which promotion do you think would have been better suited to bring in new fans and viewers through hard-hitting, physical, match-driven wrestling? WWE, AEW, TNA, NXT, or New Japan? Well, first, NXT is not technically a promotion, but that's splitting hairs. I think you're coming at this the wrong way, though. The goal of this ESPN partnership, at least from ESPN's perspective, has nothing to do with legitimizing pro wrestling. They don't care about legitimizing pro wrestling. If they did, they would have been covering it like a sport years ago. It's not a sport, though. It's not a straight sport anyway, right? Which is why they wanted nothing to do with it. This is a partnership based on making money. WWE is a business partner for them. WWE is making a lot of money right now, and they're generating a lot of social media engagement. And WWE is also year-round entertainment. They have no off-season, like every other sport does. So that was all very appealing to ESPN, and they made a deal for that reason, to make money. It's a business arrangement. Nothing more, nothing less. They can dress it up any way they want to. This has very little to do with legitimizing pro wrestling. It is about using WWE's popularity to generate more eyeballs and more subscriptions for their streaming service. And that's it. Now, if the goal was to partner with a product that would offer something competitive and physical, AEW would be a better fit. They'll give you more matches. I mean, they'll give you so many matches you don't even have time for all of them. But if they're looking for a product that's meant to appeal to more non-wrestling fans, like you mentioned, trying to hook in like a new audience, then WWE is the right partner for them. Because non-wrestling fans, they don't give a shit about wrestling matches. I know some people are not going to want to hear that, but they don't. And this partnership is not likely to generate many new fans. It's just not. The ones that it does generate are more likely to tune in because of the characters and the stories. And WWE is more driven by that than AEW is, right? It doesn't mean that, they're telling interesting stories, but I do think a non-fan or a casual at best fan, who's willing to give wrestling a chance or maybe kind of likes it, but they don't really pay too much attention to it, they're going to find the WWE product more appealing. That's what I think. The AEW product does not cater to non-fans. It does not cater to casual fans. They've made that very clear. Those shows are geared to one audience, hardcore wrestling fans. They are not generating any new fans. They're trying to give the hardcore fans the type of wrestling that they being Tony Khan, thinks they like or feel like they're not getting it from the other guys. WWE gives you 4 matches on a fucking premium live event. AEW gives you closer to 14 than they do 4. And wrestling fans may love that, but someone who's not a fan and maybe wants to sample it, it's too overwhelming for them. And they don't know enough about who these people are, or the stories. The WWE product is a lot slower and more dumbed down for those people. It's easier to follow. And you have the big elaborate entrances with the fancy production and the drones and everything else that goes into the presentation. It's a product that's more likely to appeal to someone who is not a big fan than AEW would be. And it's definitely not TNA. I mean, TNA is trying to be WWE. At that point, if you're someone who's trying to sample wrestling here, you're just going to watch WWE. You're not going to watch a smaller version of WWE with worse production values. So you could take TNA off the table. And then New Japan, you could take them off the table too. There's no way that they're partnering with a non-American product. The last thing ESPN is going to put money into is a partnership with a Japanese promotion, especially one that does not do weekly TV. Because how does that benefit them? They're a touring promotion, a cold touring promotion that happens to have special events, and they barely do any of them in the US anymore. I would be surprised if New Japan runs more than half a dozen shows over here in the States in all of 2026. So at the end of the day, WWE really is the best fit for ESPN. And Jesse from Dallas, Texas. What is some of the worst merch that you can remember WWE ever producing? And have you watched the teasers for Avengers Doomsday? And if so, what are your expectations for this movie? I have not seen the teasers, so I cannot comment on it. But oh, what a question. There have been so many bad shirts. The absolute best, worst shirt that they ever made, it has to be the APA one. Always pounding ass, bar and grill. Find me one that's worse than that. It's the bar and grill part that really puts it over the top. There's an actual bar and grill somewhere out there where you can just start pounding ass. I would think that would be a health department violation myself. I would not want to eat at that place. But I mean, there's so many of them. I remember the Sin Cara one made him look like a giant penis. The Test one, Test. He had a shirt that said, "I love my testicles" on the front. I got to be careful. I shouldn't be saying that too loud. But yes, that was a real shirt that they saw. Imagine being a kid wearing that to school. Carlito had a shirt. I remember it was yellow, and it had an apple on it. It had an apple saying, "Do you spit or swallow?" There was a Neville shirt. The Neville one was it was offensively bad just because of how lazy it was. There was nothing offensive on it. But I remember they did a shirt for him. They put so little effort into it. Even he called it out on Twitter. He called his own t-shirt an atrocity. It was so bad. And then and I know you were asking about WWE shirts, but I got to include this one, and it's an AEW shirt. It is among the worst shirts that I have ever seen. It's the one with Britt Baker's face on it when she had a black eye. Who the fuck would walk around wearing that? Who would walk around with a shirt that just has this rectangular image of a woman on it with a black eye? Who thought that was a good idea? We could probably do a whole show on nothing but just bad wrestling shirts, but those are the top ones that come to mind for me.